Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to explain all of the city side roles in CS2. Most people that play CS2 know about the T-side roles, but not everyone knows about the city side roles and what exactly are they. And before starting to explain the roles themselves, I want to again say what I said in the T-side roles video, that roles will be personality based a lot of the time, and that is something that pros like Elish and Stiku have talked about, and you can also go and look what they said about it. And what that means is basically, as an example, if you are somebody who is more shy and doesn't talk a lot, then you would probably not be a very good rotator, let's say, on city side, because the rotator will need to move around a lot, talk a lot, give a lot of information, and process the information that other people are giving him. So first let's talk about site leaders. What site leaders are on the city side is basically they're going to call the setup for the site that they're responsible for. And you would have one site leader on each site. And on some maps it's going to be a little bit more complicated, like on Mirage as an example it's going to be a bit more complicated because you would have the con player, the AWPer and the short player fighting mid a lot of the rounds, but then when they're not fighting mid, that's when the site leader on A can talk with either the AWPer or the con player, and there are a lot of different combinations you can do here. So let's say if you want to bring the AWPer on A, you have to call, can we do a setup on A? Like obviously if you're the A anchor on Mirage, you would be the site leader, because who else would be the A site leader? Because nobody else is playing there. If it's Inferno, let's say, then the short player can be the site leader on A, because he is in the place that gets the most information, so he can make the most accurate call. But on Mirage, let's say, on A there's only one person, so that person has to be the leader from that side, because he's the only one who knows what's happening exactly on that side. So you can, let's say, call for the AWPer to come on A, and he can play, let's say, ticket, and you can play on top of here. Basically that's what the site leader is. He calls setups that you can play, and sometimes he's going to call for rotations as well. If he has some raid during the mid round that the enemies are gonna come in, he can call for some rotations, like either in the con player, come and help me, or in the AWPer, or anything like this. Basically kind of like an IGL, but you would have one of these on every side, and then the IGL could call a setup as well. If he has some kind of a raid, then he can call like go fight 3 people mid or something like this. You know, the IGL can also make overall calls, and site leaders can make calls for their specific sites. Now let's talk about rotators. Rotators will be the players that will be the best individual players on their team. They will be players that are able to give information, players that are able to read the game, and players that are also able to work with the information that their teammates give them. And they are also going to help site anchors or fight for specific areas of the map. So on Mirage, the rotators would be the short player and the con player. Their job is basically going to be in the rounds when you are playing more passive and you are giving the enemies mid, then they're going to play more towards the side that is closer to them. So for the short player it's going to be B, for the con player it's going to be A. And when they play closer to the side, they can do different things, like they can play setups, they can kind of throw utility for the site anchor. So let's say if we're playing more towards B side and I'm the short player, I'm going to hold the molotov like this, and my B player is going to jump spot, and whenever he sees something I'm going to throw this molotov, let's say. That's a simple thing. And then I'm going to play around here, I'm going to shoot anyone who crosses from the window and whatever. You can play different positions, you can play it however you want. But when you're playing more for sides, you're going to help your site anchor. When you're fighting for mid, you're going to go out mid. Like maybe you're going to throw a flash, you're going to go, and if you're feeling confident, which should be, rotators should also be confident players who are able to go for duels and able to go for fights, because the rotators and the AWPers will be engaged in the most opening fights on your city sides. So they also have to be confident, and as I said, individually good players. And the short player can kind of watch this side of mid, and let's say the con player could throw a smoke and peek before the smoke blooms, then he could go out like this and hold, then he could peek under. The con player is going to have the most freedom and a lot of opportunities to fight. So he's going to be probably your best player, then your short player will be your second best rifler. So they would fight towards mid together, they would maybe get an opening, they would get some kind of map control, and after they take mid control, two of them can stay. So let's say maybe you can have the short player holding an angle like this, and then you can have the gun player holding something like this, or maybe all the way out here like this, and the opener is going to go towards A or towards B depending on the information. And something about the rotators as well is they're going to rotate before the side anchor. So let's say if something is happening towards A, let's say mid is not safe, then as a short player you would go to the kitchen and you would rotate to A before your B player rotates to A. So you're willing to rotate on a little bit less information than the anchor. The anchor would only rotate when he sees the bomb, but the rotator is going to rotate when it's most likely that the other side is going to be hit. So the rotators kind of operate on what is most likely, and the anchors operate on when the bomb is seen and it's 100% A. Let's say you heard 5 people on A, then it's 100% A if they're starting to come out. That's the moment when anchors rotate, but rotators rotate very often and they have to be able to move around the map freely. So also the rotators could, let's say, push towards mid, they could get a flank going, they could just basically move around the map way more than anchors would be. And now let's talk about the anchors. The anchors will be the players that will play the sides, and as I already said, they will be the last to rotate from the side, and they would rotate only when they see the bomb. So as the anchor, let's say if you're the A anchor, you're going to obviously be responsible for the A side, and you're going to have to choose your positions based on what the rotator can do. So if your rotators are, or specifically if you're rotating, the con player is heavy fighting towards mid, he's pushing out mid, he's peeking under, then you have to play more passive on A, so that you don't just give up the side, because if he's out mid and you are here, you're going to be an easy target because you can easily get isolated and you can just die, and then the enemies have the side for free and it's impossible to retake. But if you survive, let's say you stay around ticket, you jump spot, whatever, maybe you get one kill, maybe you don't get kills, but if you just survive, that's going to make it much easier, and you can also use some kind of utility, like if you're smoked off you can get some spams when you hear the bomb getting planted, and surviving will make it much easier for the teammates to come in and then retake the side. So the more you survive as an anchor, the better, the easier the retake becomes, because when you survive you also don't give up control. If you play ticket and you survive, the enemies cannot possibly get this control, but if you die, like let's say you play there and you die, the enemies can just get this control, then they can flash over on a good timing and then they can kill 1 or 2 players easily for free. So surviving as an anchor is very important. As I said earlier, you can also play setups together with other players. If you think that the enemies are going to come towards your side, or if you think there is one player who is always searching from either palace or ramp, then you can make some kind of a setup where you're going to hold both, like you're going to hold palace and let's say your opponent is going to hold ramp, and then you will kill this player, and after that you will proceed with the round according to the information that you got from the other players. For the side anchors, it's going to be important to be patient, and if you're somebody who is not that talkative, a little bit more shy, then anchor would fit you better than some other roles, because you're not going to need to talk a lot and you're going to be just doing your own thing most of the time, and the only things that you need to say are you need to give information. Like if you see smokes flying over, you say execute. If you see people dropping out of powers, you say dropping out of powers, obviously. You're not going to need to talk a lot, you're not going to need to give a lot of information, like the con player would as an example. And you will not need to really call that much, just when you feel that something is going to happen on your side, you can call for rotations or you can call for setups in the beginning of the round. Now lastly, let's talk about the AWPers. The AWPers are going to be the stars on a lot of maps on the city side, because the AWP is incredibly strong on the city side. Again, it depends on a lot of factors for your AWPer, but in general, most of the AWPers are successful on city sides. So, let's say on Mirage, there are a lot of things you can do. Like, if you want to start window, you can nade the window smoke and whatever. You can, if you have a good spawn, you can jump out the window without failing, and then you can just hold top mid like this from bottom con. If you get mollied, then you go back. You can also drop down, and you can even play like a setup where you're going to hold under like this, and let's say you kill the first player, then you're going to have another player who was hiding here the whole time, and he would peek after that to get a kill on the second player and the second player, and your short player would go out and hold mid so that you don't get pushed from here, or so that nobody is holding you from here for when you shoot and to go back. You can go for a lot of plays and you can do a lot of setups. So you can do, as I already mentioned a few times, you can just play tickets and watch towards ramp. You can play towards B, some kind of a setup, you can get boosted and watch here. And like this you can move around and play on different parts of the map in the start of the round. So that's something that is very strong. You have to play according to your spawn and you have to change up where you play. Change up the plays and switch it up so that your enemies cannot ever predict where you are. Because if you start window every round, okay, your enemies know what to do. They're going to smoke, they're going to wait for you to nade it if you're nading it, or if they know a better lineup where it's more difficult to nade, they can throw that better lineup and then you would be countered. And what they could also do is they can just do a B rush with a window smoke, like a kitchen window smoke, and then you don't really have that much to do. Or they could just do a power pop and smoke jungle or smoke here in the cross, and there isn't much you can do again. So you have to be changing it up, because if they see that you're playing window one round, next round they might think, okay, he's gonna be window again, let's try to do something towards B. But this round you decide to get boosted on B and you're watching cups, and when they try to pick B, you get an easy kill, and after that you can reposition, and it's going to be very hard to get into the site for the enemies. Also, after the early round, during the mid round, you have to again be rotating a lot. So let's say you get a kill on window. This is something that Simple used to do a lot. So let's say you get a kill on window, and then you're going to rotate towards somewhere where you think the enemies are going to go. So let's say you're going to go kitchen, and you're going to go ups, and you're going to watch ups. Or you can go ticket, and then you're going to watch either powers or ramp, depending on where your A anchor is. Or if you're feeling the game, if you're feeling like you want to go for something risky, you can do something else that Simple did, which is dropping under, but that's way too crazy in CS2, nobody is doing this anymore. But you can also like go jungle and watch something. You have to be moving around as the AWPer, and you have to never let your enemies know where you are. That's the most important thing for the AWPer on the city side. And also go for openings, and here about the personality is going to kind of dictate how aggressive you want to be. So if you're more of a shy player, then you would be more passive and you wouldn't go for as many openings, but then your mid round will be very strong and you will not be a risky player, you will be more of a stable player, and your teammates know that you're not going to die and you're always going to be there holding things for them. And if you're a more confident person who likes to go for things, you know, that type of guy who likes to talk a lot as well, then you're going to be a better aggressive AWPer, because you can go for plays, you can go for different things, you know, go for confident plays, and that's going to be a strength in the early round, because you'll get a lot of openings, but it can also be a little bit bad, so you have to again be switching it up, not only be aggressive, not only be passive. So if you're aggressive all the time, then sometimes you're going to die, some games you're not going to feel it, and then your team is going to play on a bit of a disadvantage, so keep that in mind as well. So that's going to be it for this video. If this video helped you, you can leave a like and you can subscribe to my channel to not miss out on any upcoming content. And you can also follow me on X if you want to see more interesting stuff from me. Thank you for watching.